Picture this. You wake up Monday morning, ready to conquer the world. You've got your to-do list, your motivational playlist, and that fire in your belly. Today's the day you tell yourself, I'm going to push through, force myself to be productive, and just grind it out. But by 3 p.m., you're scrolling through your phone, feeling like a complete failure. Sound familiar? If you're nodding right now, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not broken. You've just been sold one of the biggest lies in personal development, that willpower is your golden ticket to success. I'm Tony, and I've spent years studying the stories we tell ourselves about productivity, discipline, and what it really means to create lasting change. Today, we're going to expose the willpower myth and discover why forcing it might be the very thing sabotaging your success. Here's what we'll explore. Why your brain literally can't sustain constant willpower, the hidden cost of fighting against your own nervous system, and 3 science-backed strategies that work with your brain instead of against it. Because here's the truth, you don't need more discipline. You need a smarter strategy. Let's start with a story. Last month, I met Sarah at a coffee shop. She's 32, works in marketing, and she was telling me about her latest attempt to get her life together. She'd wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, meal prep, tackle her biggest work project first thing, then come home and work on her side business until midnight. I lasted exactly 4 days, she laughed, but I could see the exhaustion in her eyes. By Friday, I was ordering pizza for breakfast and crying into my laptop. Sarah's story isn't unique. It's the story of millions of people who've been convinced that success is just a matter of gritting your teeth and pushing harder. But here's what's fascinating, and this changed everything for me. Neuroscience research shows that willpower operates like a muscle. Not in the way you might think, though. It doesn't get stronger with use. It gets depleted. Every decision you make throughout the day drains a finite resource in your brain. Scientists call this decision fatigue, and it's why you can make smart choices all morning, but find yourself binge-watching Netflix with a bag of chips by evening. Think about it. You wake up and immediately start making decisions. What to wear, what to eat, which task to tackle first, answer this email or that one. By the time you've made your 47th decision before lunch, your brain is running on empty. There's a reason why Mark Zuckerberg wears the same gray t-shirt every day, and it's not because he lacks imagination. He's preserving his decision-making energy for the choices that actually matter. But here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something I wish I'd known 10 years ago when I was burning myself out trying to be productive. When you force yourself to push through exhaustion, when you try to muscle through with pure willpower, you're not just being inefficient. You're actually rewiring your brain to associate productivity with suffering. Your nervous system starts to see work as a threat, creativity as stress, and goals as punishments. This is why so many high achievers end up in what I call the burnout trap. They've trained their brains to believe that rest is weakness and that the only way to succeed is through constant struggle. I learned this the hard way. 3 years ago, I was working 80-hour weeks, convinced that if I just pushed harder, I'd break through to the next level. Instead, I broke down. I ended up in my doctor's office with anxiety, insomnia, and what felt like a complete inability to focus on anything. You're not lazy, my doctor said. You're exhausted. Your brain is protecting you from yourself. That's when I discovered something that changed my entire approach to productivity. Instead of fighting my natural energy rhythms, I started working with them. Here's the first strategy that transformed my life. Energy management over time management. Your brain has natural peaks and valleys throughout the day. For most people, cognitive function is highest in the morning, dips after lunch, and has another smaller peak in the early evening. Instead of forcing yourself to do focused work during your low energy periods, align your most challenging tasks with your natural energy peaks. I started doing my writing in the morning when my brain was fresh, handling emails during my afternoon energy dip, and using my evening peak for planning the next day. Suddenly, work felt easier. Not because I was working less, but because I was working smarter. But here's the thing, and this is crucial: this approach requires you to actually pay attention to your body's signals instead of overriding them with caffeine and willpower. The second strategy that changed everything: micro habits over massive goals. Instead of trying to meditate for 30 minutes every day, I started with 2 minutes. Instead of committing to an hour at the gym, I committed to putting on my gym clothes. Instead of writing for 3 hours, I wrote for 15 minutes. Here's what happened. Those small actions created what psychologists call success momentum. Each tiny win made the next action feel more achievable, not harder. James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits, but I want to add something that most productivity advice misses: the emotional component. When you consistently achieve small goals, you're not just building habits. You're rebuilding your relationship with yourself. You're proving to your nervous system that you're trustworthy, that you follow through, that you're capable of change. This creates a positive feedback loop that willpower alone can never sustain. The third strategy, and this one might surprise you: strategic rest as a productivity tool. We've been conditioned to see rest as the enemy of productivity, but research from Harvard Business School shows that strategic breaks actually improve both creativity and decision-making. Your brain processes information and makes new connections during downtime. I started scheduling what I call guilt-free rest into my calendar, not as a reward for being productive, but as a necessary component of productivity itself. A 20-minute walk without my phone. 10 minutes of just sitting on my couch without trying to optimize anything. This wasn't laziness, it was maintenance. Just like you wouldn't expect your car to run forever without oil changes, your brain needs downtime to function optimally. Here's what I want you to understand. The willpower myth doesn't just make you less productive, it makes you less human. It tells you that your natural need for rest is a character flaw, that your energy fluctuations are weaknesses to overcome, that your emotions are obstacles to push through. But what if I told you that your weaknesses might actually be your navigation system? What if feeling tired is your body's way of telling you to slow down and think more strategically? What if that resistance you feel toward a task is information about whether it's truly important or just busy work? Last week, I was talking to my friend Marcus, who's a surgeon. You'd think that someone whose job requires life or death focus would be all about pushing through exhaustion. But he told me something that perfectly captures what I'm trying to share with you. The best surgeons I know, he said, aren't the ones who can work 30 hours straight. They're the ones who know when they need to step back, when they need to eat, when they need to rest. Because in surgery, one decision made from exhaustion can change everything. The same is true for your life. One decision made from depletion, one goal set from shame instead of clarity, one push when you should have paused. These moments compound over time. So here's what I want you to try this week, just for 1 week. Instead of asking yourself, how can I force myself to be more productive? Ask yourself, how can I work with my natural energy to create what I want? Notice when you feel most alert and creative. Honor those moments by giving them your most important work. Notice when you feel depleted and give yourself permission to rest or do lighter tasks. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop forcing yourself to be productive, you often become more productive. But more importantly, you become more yourself. You stop living in constant battle with your own nervous system and start living in collaboration with it. I know this might feel scary at first. We've been taught that discipline means suffering, that ease is suspicious, that if it's not hard, it's not working. But what if that's exactly backwards? What if the most disciplined thing you can do is listen to your body? What if the most productive thing you can do is rest when you need to rest? What if the most successful thing you can do is stop trying to force success? You're not broken. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You're human. And humans aren't designed to run on willpower alone. Your energy is finite and precious. Your attention is limited and valuable. Your nervous system is wise and protective. When you start treating these as resources to be managed rather than obstacles to overcome, everything changes. Here's what I want you to do right now. Take a deep breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice that you're exactly where you need to be in this moment. And then, instead of forcing yourself to implement everything we've talked about today, choose one small thing. Maybe it's paying attention to your natural energy patterns tomorrow. Maybe it's taking one genuine break without guilt. Maybe it's just being a little kinder to yourself when you feel tired. Because here's what I've learned. Real change doesn't happen when you force it. It happens when you create space for it to emerge naturally. Leave a comment below and tell me, what's one area where you've been trying to force yourself instead of working with your natural rhythms? I read every comment, and your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Remember, you're not behind. You're not broken. You're just learning a new way to be human in a world that's forgotten how to rest. I'm Tony, and your story is just getting deeper.